More? Okay, kutuma. It keeps on supari dana kutuma kutu. The number one question is, can I do more? Because my parents did so much for me and my siblings coming from Nepal. You need to remind me the next slide. My parents will never understand the duality of being a Gen Z in Australia as a Nepali. I wish I can contribute back to Nepal. I have to remember everything, how to do dosai. Like I need to remember everything that Bua does, so when we do it with our batsaru, we know exactly what we're doing. Or that's when I'm
yeah. Or particular.
Oh, you want me to get particular? Well, it's a parrot. For anyone wondering. But and coming to a new country where there are language barriers, cultural barriers, and you know, at the time Australia wasn't very multicultural.
Marai Global Education and Visa Services, Brisbane. Multi-dynamic real estate Fitzgibbon. Nepal trip for your trekking adventures.
Pledge Legal, Kanuni Seva Afne Bhashama.
Ismail Quality Meats, Logan Central Plaza.
Fewa Foods, Dulindela, your local Nepali grocery.
Hello, I namaste. Welcome to Hamro Story Season 2. अहिले हामी मेलबर्नमा छौं. कार्यक्रम सुरु गर्छौं परिचयबाट. नमस्ते नानु.
Namaste uncle. मेरो नाम Arya ho. I am 26 years old. I live in Melbourne. I currently work as a senior risk officer and legal officer at Ashurst, which is an international firm. Only in terms of my body, I'm currently studying my master's at Monash University as well. That's really me.
Okay, Arya, तिमी चाहिँ कहाँ जन्मेको?
नेपालमा, काठमाडौँमा.
अनि कति वर्ष हुँदा आए थिए?
म I think 15 महिना थियो.
भनेपछि तिमीलाई थाहा छैन?
थाहा छैन. त्यति त थाहा छैन नि.
15 मन्थमा त थाहा हुने कुरै भएन. अब नेपाल भन्नेबित्तिकै आर्यको दिमागमा मनमा के आउँछ सुरुमा?
I think first would probably be Sagarmatha. Tyoपछि probably मेरो हजुरबा अनि हजुरआमा, so my mom's parents. Tyoपछि दसैँ, तिहार, and then definitely food.
म नेपाली फ्यामिलीको रहेछ भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ कहिले फिल भयो? The 15 मन्थमा आएको रहेछ अस्ट्रेलिया हैन? तिमीलाई कहिले फिल भयो?
हजुर. I think सुरुमा when I first started school, I started school at a very predominantly Caucasian school. Shurubat, I knew that I was from a different culture. Only my culture is Nepali, my family is Nepali. So I think from young I knew that I had come from a different heritage with different culture, different practices, different beliefs. So I think from very, very young I was aware. Yeah.
Just to be Nepali family go ani kura.
त्यो सुरुमा पनि थियो that I think in the middle going to school alikati garo bhayo because a lot of the kids don't understand other cultures, or maybe they hadn't been exposed to it enough at a younger age. So I think definitely those middle years from about 7 or 8 years old to 13, 14, there was a period where I found it difficult to manage both. That I think since 14, 15, I've really tried to reconnect and I feel Nepali here.
अहिले आर्यलाई के हुन्छ त अब म अस्ट्रेलियन रहेछु कि नेपाली रहेछु कि के फिल मोर चाहिँ केमा?
I think both, because Gharma you feel Nepali, you speak, well I try to speak Nepali with Mamu Papa and we have dal bhat like every night pretty much. Only, you know, we do Dasai Tihad every year, we do all the festivals, we pray when we can. So I do feel, only Mera Sathihodu, I do also have quite a lot of Nepali Sathihodu. So I do feel that half of my identity is Nepali, that when I go to work or when I go to university, I feel as though my Australian personality comes out. So I think both for sure. That there's no inclination to either or.
दाल भातको कुरा गरे नि.
हजुर.
कुरा मात्रै गरे कि खान्छ पनि?
खान्छ तर I like everything but maybe bariko sag because it's a little bit tito for me, but honestly we eat everything every day. Most of the time we eat dal bhat. So yeah.
अनि त्यो अघि भन्यो नि नेपाली साथीहरु युनिभर्सिटीमा तिम्रो काममा देख्यो भने तिमीले फाइन्ड आउट गर्न सक्छौ नेपाली हो यो फ्यामिली भनेर?
I mean it depends. I think situational पनि छ. For example, at my law firm and the past few law firms I've worked at, I've not met another Nepali. That at university there are other Nepalis and in different in different disciplines as well. That when you go to the broader community, especially in Melbourne, you take the train and you'll hear a Nepali, like right behind you, right? Only there's so many Nepali postals and there's so many now Momo stations and everything. So I think it is environmental depends on where you are, you'll be exposed to it more. So I think for me, there is a very broad exposure for Nepali people, Nepali.
त्यो ट्रेनमा त ठिकै छ हैन तर काममा त युनिमा भेट्यो भने चाहिँ नेपाली हो भने बोल्न मन लाग्छ लाग्दैन
मन लाग्छ but I also think that and maybe it's my industry that at the moment law is still very much a Western discipline. I think you almost feel as though you have to stay a chameleon and not break that front that more Nepali too and this is my heritage. You have to continue to blend in. So I think almost that opportunity cannot be there because you don't want to break that facade that I too am Western or I too can practice in this industry without any language barrier or any cultural barrier. So I think garo it really
चिने पनि अब कहिले कहिले हैन गाह्रो
So you keep it to the side on if you're at lunch, oh hi, how are you? I didn't get to speak to you before. So I think it probably depends on where you are and what you do.
तिमीले लमा डिग्री गरेको हैन ल कसरी मन लाग्यो या के भयो कसरी सुरु भयो
Actually Shuruma I wanted to study medicine because I thought as a child the only way to help people was through medicine. But as I grew up I understood that there are a wide range of fields, there's a wide range of disciplines, different ways you can help people. I felt as though law gives you a lot of power because you can go to politics, you can go to community, you can go to social work, you can go to health law, you can go to corporate finance. So I think for me, eventually I learned this is something that I can learn some very good foundational skills and expertise in, and from there I can implement it any way I want. So I think last month that's sort of what my decision was. Yeah.
नेपालमा चाहिँ तिमीलाई कुनै त्यस्तो अफर आयो भने त्यहाँ गएर यो
I would love to. I think that's one thing I speak a lot to my friends about is I wish I can contribute back to Nepal. That what I do, for example, my exposure in cyber and finance is probably not where Nepal needs help. That if the opportunity was there, if I could do pro bono work, or if I could even go for a couple of weeks every year, that's 100% something I would love to do because I think there's
short term
I think there's no greater fulfillment than knowing you can go back home and help. That a short term for sure. I think maybe for me long term Nepal probably is, and only because my whole family is here, Australia.
तिम्रो जस्तो युथलाई चाहिँ नेपाली अब तिम्रो प्यारेन्ट्स पनि कम्युनिटीमा इन्भल्भ हुनुहुन्छ हैन थाहा छ नि त हैन इन्भल्भ हुनुहुन्छ अब तिम्रो जस्तो एजको मान्छे चाहिँ भोलि कम्युनिटीलाई चाहिँ हैन इन्भल्भ हुन चाहिँ कतिको आवश्यक छ या छैन नीड छ
I definitely think there's a need one because the best way to keep that alliance is create community. So there is a need. And when you're in community, you have that exposure to elders, you have exposure to people that know more than you or know less than you, and people that are willing to learn. So I definitely think for our younger generation, especially second generation, it is important that we continue this community, that work that our parents do, and that culture that we have together. Yeah.
तिमीले इमेजिन गराछ आफ्टर 10 years पछि कस्तो होला नेपाली कम्युनिटी अस्ट्रेलियामा
Yes, definitely. I think to some extent very multicultural because obviously we live in Australia, so we have exposure to so many other ethnicities, which means a lot of us also might diverge and marry into different ethnicities, and some of us will continue to marry Nepalis. So eventually that culture will become more rich because we have other people and other ethnicities to come, but in a way it might slowly dilute as well. So I think as a second generation Nepali who is conscious of continuing that culture, you think, oh, I have to remember everything how to do dosai. Like I need to remember everything that Bua does. So when we do it with our batsaru, we know exactly what we're doing or what time or where. So I think it's something that definitely plays on my mind. And I do think quite a lot about how I can raise my children in such a way that Nepal is not just, oh, my mum was born there, my grandparents are born there. It's, I am Nepali, or, I have Nepali heritage. So, yeah, definitely very important. Something that I think about quite often, yeah.
त्यस्तै चाहिँ अल अस्ट्रेलियाको तिम्रो जस्तो सेकेन्ड जेनेरेसनको के भन्ने ग्रुप
yeah,
क्लब खोल्यो
society,
कम्युनिटी सोसाइटी खोल्यो भने तिमी त्यसमा इन्भल्भ हुने इच्छा छ
100%. I don't think it's hard at the moment, but I know there are definitely people that have that wish, and we do have that discussion a lot. I think especially after the last trickle, what happened with Gen Z in Nepal, a buzzword for us has been how can we create a society for us kids as well that we don't have to follow our parents and we can create our own. So yeah, definitely for sure.
कार्ड छ
हजुर
यो कार्डमा चाहिँ फिनिश द सेन्टेन्स छ इनकम्प्लिट छ सेन्टेन्स
Okay.
यसलाई तिमीले चाहिँ 1 by 1 रिड गरेर
हजुर
यसको चाहिँ कम्प्लिट गर्नुपर्छ
Okay, ल
म तिमीलाई यो कार्ड दिन्छु
Okay. The Nepali community would be the strongest if we could create a channel of access between NRNs in Nepal so we can help and create that community and create that network and have that relationship, because I also feel like there's a very big disconnect between NRN Gen Zers and Gen Zs in Nepal. In a Nepali household, you are not allowed to wear your juta inside.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. Next.
My Nepali parents always say, sleep more.
Sleep more?
Sleep more.
Oh, okay.
Sleep more. You don't sleep enough.
That's good.
Let's have a look. Without ... a Nepali household is incomplete. Ooh, that's a good one. Honestly, momo.
Momo?
Momo.
Okay.
It's quintessential.
That's fine. All right.
My parents will never understand. Oof. My parents will never understand the duality of being a Gen Z in Australia as a Nepali.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. यो चाहिँ नयाँ भन्ने तिमीले ल
The Nepali community would be strongest if we bridge the gap between those who can and those who can't, I think.
okay.
Yeah. And young Nepalis would be more involved I think if we didn't feel as overwhelmed. I think you can feel overwhelming to know where to start. Like, where do I start? How can I become more involved in culture, or how can I contribute more back home? I think, yeah. So I think overwhelmed.
Good. ल इनकम्प्लिट सेन्टेन्सलाई कम्प्लिट गर्यो त्यसको लागि तिमीलाई धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद अब म तिमी नेपाल चाहिँ कहिले लास्ट भिजिट चाहिँ कहिले गरेको थिए रे
So last visit was in 2016. So I think VC सक्ने बेलामा we went on a family.
तिमी मेमोरी छ त
Of course, छ. So त्यो tripमा we actually went to quite a few places. So we went to where Papa grew up. Well, not here. He was born in Bhutan, but we tried to go as close as possible. So we went to Tikapur. We also went to Gorkha, which is where my mother is from. And then along the way, we went to Pokharel, we went to Chitwan, we also went to Lumbini. So we had gone to that trip was to see Nepal more than anything. So I definitely still have quite fond memories of that. And I think it was probably quite eye-opening. Age 17, and the earthquakes had just happened. It was 1 year after the earthquakes as well. So a lot of the terrain, a lot of the housing still in rubble, still not good. So I think eye-opening. I think that was the trip where I really realised, wow, there is such a big gap, and I wish there was something that I could do to go back and help.
तिमीले अहिले भर्खर प्यारेन्ट्सहरुको ठाउँ भन्यो कहाँ नेपालको कुन ठाउँबाट आएको प्यारेन्ट्सहरु थाहा
So Mamu is from Gorkha, and Papa was born in Bhutan, but he did schooling in Tikapur.
टिकापुर
हजुर
15 मन्थमा आयो
Yeah.
अब अनि प्यारेन्ट्सहरुको चाहिँ स्ट्रगललाई चाहिँ अब अहिले आएर
हजुर
अहिले यो एजमा आएर प्यारेन्ट्सहरुको स्ट्रगललाई चाहिँ कसरी हेर्यो त
I mean, I can imagine 2 young professionals, leaving Papa had actually was educated in Russia, and he lived in Russia for quite a few years. Dada, in saying that it's one thing going there to study, another thing to live. But I think the sacrifice of leaving home, leaving the security of, your Papa Mamu, your whole community, and coming to a new country where there are language barriers, cultural barriers, and at the time Australia wasn't very multicultural. It was a lot more difficult to blend into society and finding jobs, finding housing. I was 1 year old, so finding childcare. I think all of that would have been quite difficult, and I do empathise with that experience, but in saying that, it's incredible to see the journey that we've been on and where we've come to now since. So yeah. Would have been very hard.
अब आफै चाहिँ प्यारेन्ट्स भएर यो सोद्दाखेरि के फर एक्जाम्पल अब त्यस्तो भएर चल्दा यो प्यारेन्ट्सले दिएको फ्यासिलिटीहरू मोर के हुन्छ होला आफूले त्यति बच्चालाई दिन सक्छ कि सक्दैन होला
I think that's the number one question is, can I do more? Because my parents did so much for me and my siblings coming from Nepal. You have that child guilt of, I have to do more because they didn't come with nothing, but they came from significantly less than what we have here. But I also think our privilege as second generation Nepalis is not having to feel that sense of I need to survive or I need to do this for my family. Our privilege is that choice. And my privilege, for example, is my parents let me travel from a young age. From 19, I traveled Europe like by myself without them. And then, you know, they let me get a job in whatever field I wanted to. So I worked immediately in corporate instead of getting a low life job. So they really enabled that flexibility, that growth, and I think that is our privilege today, is having that choice. So they've really gifted us that. So hopefully with this much choice and autonomy, we're able to return the favor and make them feel like it was all worth it. Yeah.
तिमीलाई अब यो सेकेन्ड जेनेरेसनको कुरा अहिले पनि गरिसक्यौ हैन हामीले अब यो प्यारेन्ट्सहरूले चाहिँ कहिले कहिले तिमीलाई चाहिँ जस्तो हाम्रो कल्चर त स्ट्रङ छ नि त हैन यो तिमीलाई चाहिँ अकवर्ड फिल हुने कुनै दबाब प्यारेन्ट्सबाट आएर हाम्रो कल्चरले गर्दा तिमी ब्याकवर्ड भएको त्यस्तो कुनै स्टोरी छ
I don't think backwards per se, but I definitely think, for example, we are currently trying to plan a wedding for next year, and so there are so many things we think about, like how can we make this wedding as authentic as possible, but are also being aware of what things are necessary and what aren't necessary. But I think I'm also very lucky in that my family are very liberal, they're very big thinkers. They've never ever restricted us to be like, you know, you are a Tory, so you have to do this, or you have to be married like this, none of that. But I definitely think it is important that we discuss what our expectations are or what our culture was previously, and then how we can practice it here in a sustainable way that everyone is happy as well. And it doesn't feel backwards, because anyone could easily just say, you know, go get married like this, do that, you're Tory, like you can do, you know, you have to do whatever. So there's never been that feeling. It's always been, this is what we grew up with, this is what we were taught, you don't have to do this. It would mean a lot for us if we could at least implement the important parts, or the parts that are, you know, important to our family, or what we would like to pass on. So I think for me, lucky that no experience of backwards or anything like that. Yeah.
अब हामीसित क्विज टाइममा छौं हामी यो फोटो चाहिँ म तिमीलाई देखाउँछु यो फोटोको चाहिँ हेरेर तिमीले इंग्लिशमा र नेपालीमा भन्नुपर्छ यो फोटो चाहिँ कसको हो हैन
त्यो बुद्धको, or otherwise known as Siddhartha Gautam. Yeah.
Good. यो अहिले देखिएको पिक्चर देख्यौ द भन
हात
यसलाई हात भन्छ
हात भन्छ
यो पनि मिल्यो यो अहिले देखिएको फोटो चाहिँ के हो
गार्डन बारी
गार्डन त इंग्लिशमा भयो
बारी
बारी
yeah
बारी गार्डन
I don't
मिलेन
know.
तिमीले पास गर्यो
Pass.
पास
Qu'est-ce que
यसलाई बगैँचा भन्छ है
Oh,
ओके
yeah, no, I didn't know that one.
ल यसलाई के भन्छ इंग्लिशमा भन पहिला
It's a bird. Chora. That's my name.
Chora?
Hazur, yeah.
अझै पर्टिकुलर
Oh, you want me to give particular? Well, it's a parrot. For
Parrot?
anyone wondering, but
नेपालीमा के भन्छ होला
man, that's no.
यो पनि पास
Pass. Okay.
यसलाई चाहिँ सुगा भन्छ सुगा
Suga.
है
Well,
अब इंग्लिशमा भन यसलाई
so that's an egg.
नेपाली
Nepali ma onda. Onda.
ओके फुल पनि भन्छ अन्डा नि भन्छ है द्याट्स ओके
Okay, what's the other one? Sorry.
फुल पनि भन्छ भन्न त
फुल।
अन्डा अन्डा ठिक छ तिमीले भनेको ठिक छ ओके हामीसित क्विज 5 वटा फोटो मैले देखाएँ तिमीलाई त्यसमा तिमीले 3 चाहिँ मिल्यो 2टा मिलेन त्यसको लागि धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद फेरि नेक्स्ट टाइम चाहिँ त्यो चाहिँ
Next time, 5 out of 5.
तिमीले नेपाली म्युजिकहरु नेपाली सङहरु सुन्छै सुन्दैन
Sunsa. We actually watch Nepali Idol. So whoever is winning that season, we usually follow them. So my favorite season is Nishan Bhattarai. So I really like his music. Ani, I really like Sushant Kesi's music. He's actually Papako school friend ko choro, so there's also a personal connection there. Yeah, I do like Nepali music.
अनि तिमी कुनै नेपाली कन्सर्टमा गएको छौ
Got her.
कसको गएको छ
So again, we went to the Nishan Bhatrai one. We've been to Nepathai back in the day, a little bit back in the day. What else? I'm trying to think. I haven't been to Sushant Kesi yet, but we're planning to go this year. But I think that's basically it apart from that. Not too many.
अब नेपाली सङ्गको कुरा गरिरहेछ केही यसो अलि थोरै 2 लाइन 3 लाइन आउँछ
Sure.
ल ट्राई गर न
Any song?
एनी सङ तिम्रो
Okay, sure thing. Okay, well, a classic is probably like Kutuma Kutu, Supari Dana Kutuma Kutu.
अनि म
More? Okay, Kutuma Kutu. It keeps on Supari Dana Kutuma Kutu.
कुटुमा कुटु कुटुमा कुटु अरु के त्यो मलाई
There's nothing else in there.
अरु नेक्स्ट के आउँछ कि
Next count, what else?
हाम्रो नेशनल एन्थम
Yeah, I actually do know the national anthem, but I feel like I probably might slur some words. But
ओके
do you want me to sing it?
न
Soyo Zuluka Fulka Hami Eote Mala Nepali. Soyo Bulka Fulka Hami Mechi Mahakali. You need to remember the next line. When I hear it, I can sing it, but it's in the moment, I'm like, oh, can't remember right now. But yes.
नेपाल जाने प्लान चाहिँ के छ अब
Plan to definitely tour. I was actually planning to go to Nepal 2 years ago to do base camp. Because of the dengue outbreak at the time, I had to cancel that trip. But I think in the next year or so, especially before the wedding, it would be good to go, not only for myself, but for my fiancé and his family as well. So definitely planning the next year or so. Only I have a few friends that are also planning to get married in Nepal.
कहाँको ट्रेकिङ गर्ने क्यान्सल भयो थियो त्यति बेला
So त्यो बेलामा we were looking to do Mount Everest base camp. But at this time I might change and I might actually do Annapurna instead because I've heard better things about that. So yeah, we'll see. It honestly depends on what season or what time I also go. So I think it'll be probably more suited to the time that I go. I'll make that decision. Yeah.
अनि यहाँ नेपाल फेस्टिभल हुन्छ नि every 2 year मा प्रोग्राममा तिमीले कुनै परफर्मेन्स गरेथ्यौ
Yeah, so I've performed twice. So I think one when I was quite young, Batsa. Then I did it again in 2018, last time. So I performed twice.
के परफर्मेन्स कस्तो
We did Chatta Rumal. So we had a group of 8 and half of us were pretending to be boys, other half were girls, and we're doing Chatta Rumal. What else did we do? We did Talko Pani. So we did that. So yeah, I've actually
तालको पानी माछाले खाने
yeah.
पिरिमसित जाने कि नजाने ल आर्या हामीले सिधा आज धेरै लामो कुराकानी पनि गर्यौं हाम्रो ऑडियन्सलाई तिम्रो आफ्नो एक्सपीरियन्स पनि सुनायौ हैन त्यसको लागि तिमीलाई धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद फेरि यस्तै कुनै प्रोग्राम भने फेरि भेटौँला आजलाई नमस्ते
Thank you, Uncle. Namaste.
A big thank you to our amazing sponsors for making it all possible. Your support helps us share powerful community voices and bring creative stories to life. We truly couldn't do it without your support.